4 out of 5 calls to Police Scotland are not to report a crime. So says the Chief Constable, who's gone on the record with his concerns about the strain 999 calls made about mental health or addiction are putting on his officers. Ian Livingston, Chief Constable of Police Scotland, said the thin blue line was increasingly the first and last resort for patients in need of hospital care. The SNP government in Edinburgh has faced criticism for the way it's been running the health service in Scotland, with the Army recently drafted in to drive ambulances. Well, the Chief Constable said, or this is part of what he said, the ambulance service will not ask us to take people to hospital, but will we often be in a position with a citizen who needs to be taken to hospital and an ambulance is not available. Therefore, by definition, we end up taking them to hospital. He said this meant fewer officers were free to solve or prevent crimes. Let's turn to David Hamilton, the chairman of the Scottish Police Federation. David, thanks for your time this evening. Do appreciate it. What do you make of the Chief Constable's comments here? I mean, there is a sense in which he feels that his officers are not able to get on with the job for which they are trained and in position to take care of, namely solving crime.
Yes, he's absolutely correct, and it's exactly the point which we've been making in the last few weeks. Things have been getting particularly bad, exacerbated by the problems that the NHS are having, and police officers are having to step in as that service of last resort. So, absolutely agree every single word he said today.
Can you just give us a concrete example of what's happening actually on the ground when somebody calls 999? I mean, is the ambulance just not getting there? I mean, we know there have been shortages of people able to... I mean, even taxis being used to get people to A&E. But, I mean, obviously, the police, in a sense, are the very final port of call, aren't they, for somebody in dire need? But are the ambulances simply not getting there, not being dispatched? Do you know what the process is on the ground and why it's going wrong?
The problem is fundamentally it's a whole system problem, and in Scotland the big challenge is actually getting the beds freed. So there's a lot of people who can't return to the community because the community system is short of staff. That then has a knock-on effect to accident emergency. So the ambulances are turning up there and can't deliver their patients to accident emergency, and that then puts a strain on the rest of the ambulance service. And we've had examples in the west of Scotland where police officers have been advised, don't ask for an ambulance because it'll be 8 hours before you get one. Now, this is no criticism of the ambulance service. They are absolutely flat out trying to do their best. But when they eventually get to that point where they can't cope, they're certainly not asking us to go and take people to hospital. But when somebody's lying in agony, because of a particularly bad fracture or somebody who's bleeding, as we've had, then we're not going to walk away from them. We're going to help them, and that's the difficulty of the situation here. So we're having to step in where other systems are beginning to fail, and health is just the latest line of them, and there's a number of different examples of that.